Hello and welcome to the first episode of Mike at the Museum. What I would like to do with this series of shows is to simply show you a lot of the artifacts that we have here in the museum, and let's tell you about the stories behind them. Now, one of the things for this first episode was I had to find something that would be memorable, something, a good starting off point. And then I thought, wait a minute, I've got it. We're going to talk about the museum building itself, and we'll talk about its history. Nate Rothschild, one of the founding members of the museum, said that with its 16-inch thick wooden beams and the brick and concrete that it was built with, that this building was built like a fortress. So, come along with me and let me tell you about the Centralia Area Historical Museum building. The information that I'm going to tell you about in this episode comes really from just a couple of sources. One are a couple of written histories that are sitting right up by the front desk, which you're more than welcome to come in and read through yourself. The other one was an article from the Centralia Sentinel dated November 2017, which was actually when they held the dedication for the 100th anniversary of this museum. The building that houses the Area Historical Museum actually was completed and dedicated in 1917. Two area businessmen, Ferdinand Cole and his partner at the time, Mr. Meyer, built this structure for a wholesale grocery distribution center, which they served, my understanding is, something in the neighborhood of 53, those red and white mom and pop grocery stores, and it served in that capacity well into the 1970s. Touring the museum, you might see some of the original features to the building. One is right behind me. It's the original walk-in fireproof safe. And, little side note, there's another one of these. It's just located down in the basement. And also on the first floor, as we enter the high school room, you can find the original cooler for the building. We now use it for storage. And this was the dumbwaiter that serviced the cold storage area. Then lastly, in the high school room, when you come into the back, you can see this behind me. You see the back door to the museum. Now, at one time, two sets of tracks came right up to the back of the museum. And then what would happen is they'd open this door and they would offload the freight cars straight into this back area. Now, the other thing you may notice is that it's got a little raised panel here, as you can see from here to here. Now, the reason is because then that was the same height as the freight cars. So they could just put out a ramp and then that way offload straight from the freight cars into the back of the museum. Originally, there were two freight elevators that serviced the building. One was replaced by a regular type elevator for the convenience of visitors and staff. Now, the other one I could say is still in service, but it's not a freight elevator anymore. We simply use it for storage. Now, the building houses 3 floors and a basement, and you may notice these support columns that go throughout the whole entire building. They start with these ones that are 14 inches by 14 inches thick here in the basement, up to the 3rd floor where you find 11 by 11 inch thick beams. Now, the floors in the museum, and I'm showing you actually from the underside, this is the ceiling on the 1st floor, but all the floors are tongue and groove with these huge, as you can see, beams that run all throughout the building for support. The metal awning that's overhead of the dock, both of these are original to the building. But did you know several decades ago, the entrance was moved to the southeast corner of the building from east side of the building, part of the building that faces Locust Street, to accommodate a ramp that allowed them to take goods straight down into the basement.
Before its move to the Cole and Meyer building, the museum was temporarily located in the old Topper's women's apparel store at 111 East Broadway. But it wasn't too long after that the Cole and Meyer building was put up for sale by its owner. In December 1999, it was announced that Ralph Spray, the co-owner of the Centralia Cartage Company, agreed to contribute money for the purchase of the Cole and Meyer building at 3rd and Locust Streets for the Centralia Area Historical Society and its museum as the new permanent home. It was said Ralph Spray is doing this in the memory of his father, Ben Spray, who was a customer of Cole and Meyer Wholesale Grocery for 40 plus years and ran a general merchandise store in Hoffman. The museum's genesis was the late Kenneth A. Strike's Centralia Room, a collection of Centralia area memorabilia housed in his home, which grew too large and eventually needed another home. The museum's charter member list included 125 people. The museum was formally dedicated on October 14, 2000, with former U.S. Senator Paul Simon serving as the principal speaker. Driving past the museum, one may notice the big green and yellow caboose parked out front. The museum took possession of a Burlington Northern Railroad caboose in October of 2000. The caboose sits outside the building's south side today. A volunteer group of car knockers who were former railroad workers pitched in to get the caboose cleaned up and repainted its original colors. The caboose was donated by the rail company.
Thanks for watching another episode of Mike at the Museum. If you want to come see the artifacts that I showcase in these little episodes, you are more than welcome. All you got to do is come down to the Centralia Area Historical Museum. We are located at 240 South Locust here in Centralia, and we're open Wednesday 1 to 4 p.m., Fridays 1 to 4 p.m., and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Oh, by the way, it's free. 3 floors of all kind of artifacts you can come and watch. Hope to see you there, and thanks for watching.